Precisely at the point when you begin to develop a conscience, you must find yourself at war with your society. Have you ever wondered why people don't have the same status in life when they were born? Where are the rich and poor people in the society? Have you ever thought this idea wondering, what if you were born rich? On the other hand, what if you were born poor? What if the society is some kind of utopia where everything is just perfect and equal? Yet, whatever social class one belongs to in a society, it is hoped that one may find reasons to still be grateful and live a life that is full of opportunities. We are all equal, regardless of our social standing or how powerful we believe ourselves to be. We came to this place through birth and shall depart by death. Good day to each and everyone. We are the fifth group and we are here to report on the concept, characteristics, and forms of the stratification system. After going through this module, you are expected to first, identify the concept of stratification using a pyramid of social classes. Second, compare and contrast the characteristics of two forms of stratification systems using a Venn diagram. Third, identify social mobility and social inequality in understanding stratification systems in sociological perspectives. And lastly, view stratification systems as a way for social mobility and the reason of social inequality in the society. Having established our learning objectives for this lesson, let us now proceed to discover more pertaining to what social stratification is all about. The idea of rich and the poor may be too familiar to everyone. It can be seen in below teleseries.
Ate, tama na.
Tortang talong lang ang ulam. Hindi bale, pag nagpadala uli ng pera, marami na uli tayong ulam. At hindi lang ulam ha, t-shirts, pabango, bag, sapatos.
Ate, tama na sabi.
Michael?
Or Korean dramas.
진짜 다른 행성 사람 같네.
눈치가 없으면 분수라도 알든가. 지금이 우리 남주 인생이 얼마나 중요한 순간인데.
That you watch back then and it can be seen in reality just like in the society where you are belong. People who identify as adhering to a lower social status have a less sense of access to public services and a lower level of satisfaction. People with a higher social class identity have a stronger sense of acquisition and have a higher satisfaction, all of which are attributed to the presence of distinct social classes. A social class is made up of people of similar social status who regard one another as social equals. Each class is a set of values, attitudes, beliefs, and behavior norms which differ from those of the other classes. In many cultures, class is a key factor in determining a person's status, whereas in others, it is less important than, for example, birth in a certain family. On the other hand, the layering of these social classes from higher to lower class is called social stratification. Small hunting and gathering societies have existed for tens of thousands of years and they continue to exist today. These groups of people exhibit little evidence of social inequity. During the course of human history, society got more complex and enormous changes took place. These changes elevated certain groups of the population by providing them with greater power, wealth, and prestige. Social stratification is defined as the hierarchical arrangement and establishment of social categories that may involve into social groups together with statuses and their corresponding roles in the society. Individual and collective behavior, as well as relationships, are regulated and controlled by stratification. Those in higher social strata benefit from inequality of opportunity, while those in lower social strata struggle, hence controlling human relationships. Social stratification is divided into 3 social classes. Discover what these various social classes are.
So what is social class? Social class or class is the division of a society based on social and economic status. The upper class consists of elites, typically the leaders and the wealthiest families in the society. The upper class and middle classes mainly consist of positions like administrative officers, doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers, and etc. Let's begin with the upper class. The upper class includes those aristocratic and high society families with old money who have been rich for generations. These extremely wealthy people live off the income from their inherited riches. The upper class is more prestigious than the middle and lower class. The middle class are the sandwich class. These white-collar workers have more money than those below them on the social ladder, but less than those above them. It is often made up of highly educated business and professional people with high incomes, such as doctors, lawyers, stockbrokers, and CEOs. The lower class is typified by poverty, homelessness, and unemployment. People of this class, few of whom have finished high school, suffer from lack of medical care, adequate housing and food, decent clothing, safety, and vocational training.
Characteristics of stratification. What is stratification? Pag sinabi nating stratification or characteristics of stratification, ito yung pagkakaayos tsaka yung pagkakauri ng mga tao sa lipunan based on their social status in society. Pag sinabi namang universal but variable, each individual are categorized according to their group. For example, it can be their wealth, it can be their occupation, it can be their age, it can be their gender. So, yun yung main point nung sinasabi natin universal but variable. Yun yung tinutukoy para makategorize sila sa kanilang grupo base yun sa social status nila sa society. Number 2, not a matter of individual differences. Ang bawat tao ay magkakaiba, but we tend to assume that the outcome of stratification is just natural because of our differences, which is not true. Dahil nakikita natin yung epekto ng social stratification sa mga tao, ano man ang kanilang personal choices at katangian. For example, children of wealthy families are more likely to live longer and be healthier, to attend college and to excel in school, as compared to children born into poverty. Moreover, they are more likely to be wealthy themselves when they grow up. So, ang pagkakaiba nila is yung first child is born into wealthy family and the second child is born into poverty. But they are both more likely to be wealthy themselves when they grow up because yung unang child na galing sa wealthy family is malaki talaga yung chance niya na maging wealthy siya kasi galing na siya, natural na sa kanya yun kasi galing siya sa wealthy family. And the second one, which is born into poverty, kaya siya naging wealthy because dahil sa kanyang pagpupursige sa pagsisikap niya and sa tiyaga niya. And even though magkaiba sila ng social status, parehas pa rin sila naging wealthy nung lumaki sila. Hindi nasusukat nung resulta nung ginawa nila yung social status nila. Hindi mahalaga yung social status sa anumang gagawin. Hindi na masusukat kung sino tayo, kung ano yung dapat mangyari sa gagawin natin. So, it doesn't define anything. That's why not a matter of individual differences. Hindi yun matter sa pagkakaiba ng mga tao pagdating sa mga ginagawa natin. Number 3, persist across generation. Sa bawat henerasyon, kinakategorize niya at nirarank niya yung bawat member sa society. However, society allows some degree of social mobility or changes in the position within social hierarchy. My good example for this persists across generations or social mobility is Duterte. Before, Duterte is a mayor, and yun yung degree na meron siya sa social mobility, which is yung rango niya sa social hierarchy. But we all know na tumakbo siya as president, which is higher than the position as the mayor. And nung nanalo siya, nag-iba yung degree niya sa social mobility. And dahil nag-iba yung degree niya sa social mobility, mag-iiba din yung rango niya sa social hierarchy. Which is dati ito yung rango niya sa mayor, then this is the president, and now this is his level in social hierarchy. Yun na yung rango niya, mas mataas na yung rango niya than before sa mayor. That's why people sometimes move upward or downward in social class, which is the basic concept of social mobility. Number 4, social belief. Isang cultural beliefs na tumutukoy kung paano natin ika-categorize ang tao at kung paano natin matutukoy ang hindi pagkakapantay-pantay ng mga tao sa stratification system as normal. But if people won't believe the system is right, it won't last. Dahil sa paniniwala ng mga tao, kaya patuloy na nag-work yung system ng social stratification. It's all because through these beliefs of who deserves wealth, power, and success. That's the reason why system of social stratification are continuously working. Pero kapag hindi na naniniwala yung mga tao sa resulta ng social stratification system, it's all going to be useless. Kung hindi na siya magiging valid. Kasi wala nang naniniwala sa wala nang naniniwala doon sa resulta. So, ano pang sense nung paggawa ng mga social status if wala naman nang naniniwalang tao. So, yung paniniwala ng mga tao, yun yung nagpapawork doon sa social stratification. That's it all.
Forms of stratification systems. Number 1 is the closed system of stratification. Closed system accommodate little change in social position and are typically based on ascribed status or some trait from birth. They do not allow people to shift levels and do not permit social relationships between levels. In this system, people of one stratified group cannot become members of another group because closed system doesn't give you the freedom to choose what class you want. There is little or no chance for you to move to another level in society. An example for this is the Indians' caste system. The caste system is the social hierarchy in India. The top of Indians' caste system was the Brahman or the priest. They were at the top because they were considered to be closest to the gods. Right below is the Kshatriyas or the rulers, warriors, and administration. And then Vaishyas, the middle class or merchants and landowners. Lastly, the Sudra or the commoners and servants. The reason why gods are on the top of the pyramid because caste system is governed by religious beliefs of Hinduism. This system required endogamy, which refers to the practice of marrying within one's own caste category. Accepting this social standing was considered a moral duty.
Open class system. An open class system is the stratification that facilitates social mobility with individual achievement and personal merit determining their own social rank. This means that the hierarchical social status of a person is achieved through their effort, and any status that is based on family background, ethnicity, gender, and religion, which is also known as ascribed status, became less important. There is no distinct line between classes, and there will be more position within that status. This further explains that in an open stratification system, you can achieve a status through your choices by working hard enough, searching long enough, and even making stupid mistakes that can make you move through a different social class than the one you had been born into. An example of an open class system is the United States. They exhibit an open stratification system where individuals can move between social statuses based on achievement. This can be seen from all the upcoming prodigy like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and Elon Musk that keeps innovating their own businesses and services that will make them rich, thus moving them to a different social class than their own social class that they had been born into.
The systems of stratification was able to tell us how inequality happens. However, it doesn't really answer as to why it occurred. For that to be answered, we'll have to understand the three sociological paradigms: structural functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. From a structural functionalist perspective, we have social stratification because, as we all know, it's functional for society. This is the basic argument of what's known as the Davis-Moore thesis. Davis and Moore basically argue that without unequal rewards, few people would want the jobs that require the years of training or personal sacrifice that typically come with long work hours. There's some serious problems with this idea. One is that not all jobs that are important are necessarily hard to learn or come with high pay. Garbage collecting, for instance, is extremely important with a smooth functioning society, but it's not a particularly high-paid or socially valued job. And this mismatch works the other way too. Not all highly paid jobs are functionally important. For instance, ask yourself, who is more functional for the society? A high school teacher or a famous actor? Now think about who gets paid more. The structural nature of inequality, or the ways in which a society is organized to the advantage some groups over others, can be a cause of individual success or failure, no matter how hard a person works. Now, while Davis and Moore don't really deal with the impact of inequality, social conflict theory very much does. For Karl Marx, stratification is based on different relations to the means of production. At the simplest level, one class controls the means of production, which allows them to extract labor from the other class, which only controls their own labor. Marx believed that as capitalism progressed, the inequality between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat would get worse, until eventually the proletariat would unite and overthrow the bourgeoisie. But one of the central criticisms of the social conflict understanding of stratification is the proletariat revolution never happened in Western Europe or the United States. If inequality was so bad for workers, why did the revolution not happen? According to German sociologist Ralph Dahrendorf, the capitalist class in Europe has been too fragmented to serve as a single target for revolutionaries. Rather than having just a few capitalists against an ever-increasing proletariat, we actually have more capitalists. These are in the forms of business owners, executives, and people who own stocks. And a fragmented capitalist class makes it difficult for workers to focus their revolutionary energy to any one group. In addition, he argued greater worker organization in the form of unions has allowed workers to fight for better working conditions, higher pay, and greater control over their labor, resulting in an increased standard of living. Dahrendorf saw that the ideology of capitalism plays a role here as well. Just as more people are financially invested in capitalism, people are also ideologically invested in it. But this isn't just a matter of whether people like the system or not. Ideology determines what people see as available to struggle over. Fighting for higher wages seems reasonable, but abolishing wage labor does not. For a more micro or individual level of inequality, sociologists turn to symbolic interactionism. When we first defined social stratification, we said that it involved putting people into categories. Symbolic interactionism let us understand how this actually works because, sure, what class you're in might come down to how much money you make. But how can other people tell what class that is in in everyday interaction. It's not like people walk around with signs, except that they kind of do, in the form of conspicuous consumption. This is when the products that you buy make statements about your social position. Example, wearing Chanel clothes, having Hermes bags, wearing Rolex watches, isn't just about the thing itself, but it's also about sending a message to anyone who sees it. A message that says, I'm in the upper class. Your tastes are shaped by your social position, and you use them to define yourself just as others read your taste to judge you in your position. There's a ton of background knowledge and understanding behind tastes and preference that you can just conjure out of nowhere. And the difficulty of acquiring this knowledge helps maintain stratification. So these three perspectives, structural functionalism, social conflict, and symbolic interactionism, can help us better understand not just how stratification works, but why we have it. And that's a wrap. I hope you guys had fun with our presentation. Thank you and have a great day.